Understanding how to navigate and make it through unexpected traumatic shock events can be one of the most useful techniques we can have in our toolbox. So first of all, let's briefly look at what is called the window of tolerance. The window of tolerance is the stress of a traumatic or otherwise negative event which may have the effect of pushing us out of our window of tolerance into hypo or hyperarousal. And this is a dissociative process which may be subtle or extreme. If we go into hyperarousal, we go into what is called the fight-flight response, a survival response. And if we go into hypoarousal, that is when we go into the freeze response, which is also a type of stress response. And obviously, as a human being, maintaining homeostasis, we want to keep ourselves in the optimal arousal zone between hyper and hypoarousal. Now, obviously, when we have a shock or a traumatic event, we are catapulted into either hyper or hypoarousal. So there can be many types of shocks. We can have something happen to us personally, something in our family, something to do with business or work, and there can also be bigger social collective shocks which still affect us. Now, the main emotion that's at play here is fear, and we are hardwired for survival through the sympathetic nervous system, the stress response, or SNS for short, or SOS, and also through the parasympathetic nervous system. We have this fight, flight, freeze response. And this is a natural part of our body system for survival. And this response triggers on if we feel we're in physical danger. And this danger could be real, or it could be perceived in our mind. But either way, the body triggers on the survival response because it needs to protect us. And it may also trigger other survival emotions. For example, anger is a survival emotion. Often we can be angry when we're actually afraid. And this is all part of the natural response of the body trying to keep itself alive. So the goal of the body is to keep the body alive in order to survive. And it's programmed to do this through the autonomic nervous system. Now, the really fascinating thing, and this is where we get to the useful part of this presentation, is what we call UDINs, or UDIN moments, and understanding what a UDIN moment is and how to navigate it. So a UDIN is an acronym for an unexpected event which comes out of the blue, which is dramatic. It's isolating because we feel isolated. And in the moment that it happens, we don't have a strategy. This is what is called a UDIN moment, an unexpected, dramatic, isolating, no strategy event. Now, when a UDIN moment happens, fear and possibly other emotions are automatically triggered within the system, but they get snap frozen into the electrical and nervous systems, because at the time of the UDIN moment, which is unexpected, dramatic, isolating with no strategy in that moment, there is no way of dealing with the situation. And so the energy that is triggered, the fear and other emotions, are snap frozen into the system. And unless we somehow clear this energy, it will stay there and it will have its effects. And some of these effects include, for example, feeling traumatized, feeling stressed, feeling upset, the brain not working well, stuck in fear, and then maybe leading to things like post-traumatic stress disorder. So what we have to remember is that emotions are energy, E-motion. And a law of physics says that energy cannot be destroyed once it is generated. It can be transformed, but it won't just disappear. So that's why, for example, water can turn into ice or steam, but it won't just disappear. Energy needs to be transformed. And this is what needs to happen for emotions to clear out of the body. So these emotions will stay in the system at an electrical, nervous, cellular level, and they will affect our whole being, our mind, our emotions, our body, until they're cleared. Now, the good thing is it doesn't have to be that difficult or take that long to clear them. So let's look at some solutions. Now, the very first step is awareness. The first step is to recognize that we have experienced a UDIN moment, because believe it or not, we can be so shocked and traumatized, we don't know what's really happened. We know something has happened, but we don't really fully understand this phenomenon. And once we understand that we've experienced a UDIN moment, we have awareness of that. And that is the first step in the transformation of this energy. The second step is to acknowledge and accept. And what that means is to acknowledge the truth of what happened, to acknowledge the truth of how we're feeling, and to accept rather than resist what has happened, which means we welcome rather than push away what we're feeling. Now, this may sound really counterintuitive at first, because most people are very well programmed at either ignoring or pushing away their feelings, including fear. So this is why we have to have awareness, and we need to do this consciously. And this takes practice. But if we can somehow recognize what we're feeling and acknowledge and accept the feelings, rather than thinking that we're going to get rid of them by pushing them away, then you may find that they may actually start to clear a lot easier. And after we've done that, the third step is then to somehow transform the trapped emotional energy so that it can be cleared from the electrical system, the nervous system, from the cells. And there are many, many ways of transforming emotional energy. I'm just going to give a few examples here. Just by welcoming the energy and recognizing it and acknowledging it will already start to transform that energy. For example, EFT tapping is a really effective way of clearing trauma and energy from the electrical nervous system. If you want to look up tapping, there are plenty of videos on YouTube. Go and Google some tutorial on tapping and follow along. It's very, very simple. Another thing that I really recommend that can be very, very effective is some rescue remedy. So there are different types of flower essence remedies, and some of them have what is called a rescue remedy. And that will be a remedy that will filter into the electrical system very, very quickly to help clear that trauma or that shock. So you can check out Bach flower remedies or First Light Flower Essences of New Zealand remedies, and there will be other brands as well that you could probably find. And then there are a myriad of other energetic healing techniques, many of which, for example, you might need to seek out a therapist to help you with. But what we need to do here is that we need to work on the energy system of the body, because that shock trauma hits the electrical system first, then the nervous system, and then it goes into the rest of the body. So we need to do something to clear that energetic charge which got snap frozen into the cells. And as I said, the really good thing is, if you can get onto this quickly, you can actually clear it quite quickly. Of course, the other thing that you can also look at is doing some form of meditation, yoga, qigong, anything that will bring you back into what we call the natural calm state. All these modalities can really help to calm the nervous system. So it's well worth trying one of these techniques as well. So I hope that's been useful in understanding how to manage and clear and get through UDIN shock moments.